Hello and welcome back to the Google Forms series from start to finish. We are now on video 3. Let's go back and double check where we're at in the series of videos. Alright, if we go back and we review where we're at in the series, we are now on video 3, adding questions. In this video, we will look at any and all of the questions that you may add in a Google form. So stay tuned. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with video number 3. In this video, we will focus solely on adding questions. So once again, this form should look familiar to you if you've seen the first few videos, but we are going to focus mostly over here on the right when you add a question. So anytime you want to add a question, you're going to click on this plus button. I went ahead and tried to save some time, and I went ahead and added some questions in, one for each answer type. So once you hit add question, it will simply add a question. And you have all of these answer choices to choose from. Short answer all the way down to inserting time. So I'm going to go ahead and start with what I previously had. So this here is the very first one, short answer. Obviously you want to include this if you're wanting your people to respond with a short answer. So I just made up a random question here. What is the meaning of life? And this then is where they will answer. When you enter that, you'll see this little button to the right. That's where you can add an image. So we'll try that with just one. You can upload, you can look at your camera by URL, photos, any photos you have within your Google Drive, or you can simply do a Google image search. So I will just type in life. And I'll choose the first thing. So I'm going to choose this here, and it's going to insert that image. You can adjust that image if you want. So if you click on these buttons here, you can left align, center line, change, remove. You can add a caption if you want. But what I may do is try to make that a little smaller. So you'll see I just simply click and drag. That was way too big to begin with. And I'm going to leave it at that. So that is how you insert an image. So you have a couple other things on this question, and these will be on the other questions too, so I'll try not to repeat myself, but this one here is duplicate, sorry. So if you got a good question and you want to duplicate it or copy it, you're going to click on this. If you started that question and you don't like it and you want to delete it, you're going to click on this. This here is pretty important. This here is turned on. It's toggled to on. So this is a required question. You're making sure that your respondents answer this question. If you want to turn it off, you turn it off. They can now skip that question if they want, but I want that to be a mandatory question, so I'm going to leave that on. Down here, you'll see where you can also show a description if you want. So if you want to maybe describe the question a little bit more, you can do a response validation if you choose to do so. But that right there is basically how you insert a short answer question. So if we want to see what that looks like just after one question, we're going to come up here to preview. And if I click on preview, it's going to open another tab, and I can start to see this first question and what it looks like. So once again, we're just checking to see how it's coming along. I'm going to close it and go back to my form. So the next question that I can insert is a paragraph question. So it is the next one in the list. Very similar to a short answer question. The paragraph question will maybe allow your respondents to maybe answer a little more detailed. So I just made up a random question here, and here once again is where they would type in their response once you've finished your form. And same thing, add an image, duplicate, trash it, make it required, and once again, description, response validation. Let's go to the next question. So the next question type that you can insert, if you look in the list, is the third one down, multiple choice. Pretty common question that we tend to ask, but I just came up with a random question here. What is the first prime number after 7? So when you do this, you will simply type in your answers. So if I want to add another answer to that, let's say I want to add 33. I can add 33. And if I want to, I can drag that and move that up. And if I want that to be the very first option, I can do that. But I like to keep them in order, so I'm going to move that back down to where it should be, 33. So what you'll see here once again is you can add an image. You got some of the other things here: duplicate, trash, required. And in a multiple choice question, you'll see it's a little bit different. So this one is new. Go to section based on answer. So here's where you really have to plan out your form. So if the particular question would warrant them to jump ahead to later in the form, then here's where you would click go to section based off answer. So if a question maybe doesn't apply to someone, you want them to just quickly finish the form, they can skip all the other questions, and that's where you would do this. Another new one, shuffle option order. This would apply, of course, when you make this a quiz, or if you just want to shuffle around to maybe eliminate cheating with your respondents. Other than that, that is basically multiple choice. You do have an X out here to the right, so if you want to remove a question, you simply click it and you can do that. You can also add an image next to each answer choice too. That is an option. Okay, moving on. Let's go to the next one. The next one is a checkbox. So a checkbox you want to probably use when you want them to have the option of selecting multiple answers. So let's look at a question. Please check all of your favorite colors. So random question here with 4 random answers, and actually a 5th, the other down here. So if they like red and orange, they can check red and orange. If they like them all, they can check them all. If their color's not listed, they can check other. Same things, add image, duplicate, trash, required. Let's check and see what we got here for this. Some similar options here: description, response validation, shuffle option order. A lot of these we've already seen. Let's go to the next one. Drop down. So drop down is another question type that you can use. This is quite useful if you want them to select just one item. So common question you may ask is, please select your name from the following list. So you'll see I typed in some random names, and you'll see I made a mistake. Zoe Zebra, I want this to be alphabetized. So once again, click and drag. I'm going to move that all the way to the bottom, release, and it now will be alphabetized. So you can add in as many options as you want. And once again, add image, duplicate, trash, required. Let's see what we got. Same things before. This is similar to multiple choice. You want them to go to a section based off the answer. So you really got to plan it out how you want this to go. All right, next question that you can have. If I scroll down, let respondents upload files to Drive. So that is an option where you can have them upload a file if you choose to do so, depending upon what you're asking. Maybe you need them to turn in a file to you, so you would click File Upload. So I'm going to get rid of this question. So there's your file upload. Next question, linear scale. So similar to a Likert scale question where you can ask and give your respondents a choice of range in their answer. So an example would be, how are you feeling today? It will start with 1 to 5, but you have the option, if you think that that's too much, you can scroll it down to 1 to 3, with 1 being horrible, 3 being amazing, and 2 being in the middle. Or you can make it all the way to 10. But once again, be careful when you make it that large, because what's the difference between, say, a 5 and a 6? If your scale is that big, it's kind of difficult for your respondent to choose. So maybe 3, 4, 5. I'll go back to the original. Same thing as in the previous questions. Let's see what we got here. Here we're only allowed to do the description. Another question type. These can get a little more tricky, but the next one up in our list after linear scale is multiple choice grid. So here's an example of a question that you may see. Please rate your technology skills. So within this, you're going to include rows, you're going to include columns. So you got to be careful as far as placing items in the correct rows and in the correct columns. So let's even take a look at this and see what this looks like, because it can be tricky to see. So once again, if I want to see how I'm doing on this, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to preview. So I click that, opens up a new tab, I'm going to scroll down to the question we were on, and we were on this one right here. Please rate your technology skills. So you'll see if I'm careful in how I input the rows and how I input the columns, I can then have people select the correct radio button. So it's also nice too that they can't goof and select more than one, so it forces them to only select one. Okay, close that out. Let's go back to where we were. Yes, I can leave that because I'm still working on this. And if I scroll down, we're almost to the end here. The next one is a checkbox grid. So very similar to the previous question, but a little bit different. Checkbox grid, we want them to maybe select multiple items in a row or column. So, question that you may actually use: what date and time works best for you to meet? Check all that apply. So you'll see in my rows I have the 5 days of the work week and various random times inserted here, and I also inserted none in case none of these times work. So let's go back and see what this looks like. So preview, scroll all the way down again, and here's our question. So let's say 8 o'clock on Monday works, and noon works, and 8 o'clock works, and on Tuesday none of those times work. That is how you would simply fill in that question. Let's go back to our form. Yes, I want to leave, and we are almost done. And the second to last is date. So if you want your respondents to insert a date, let's say you want to know when their birthday is, please list your birthday. So they would select month, day, and year. And the last question is time. So if you want them to insert a time, and once again a random question here, please list your favorite time of the day. Let's see what these look like. I go back up to the top, I preview, I go to the end. Let's see what those date and times look like. I can click on the calendar and select, or I can type it in if I want. Please list your favorite time of the day. I can type it in, let's say 10 o'clock at night. And click on PM. And that's it. So let's go back to our form. Let's close that out first. Yes, I want to leave. That is all of the question types that you can insert into a form. I know that was rather quick, but that is it. Stay tuned for the next video.